need to understand the effects of World War II, where we believe World War II, which emerged between 1939 and 1945, I can tell you it had great effects. It had great what? Effects. Where we believe by this time, it led to the economic prosperity of some states like USA. Some states like USA got economic benefits because they were selling military hardware to the fighters. They were selling military hardware to the what? To the fighters. Where I can say it led to the economic boom of some states like USA, as they were selling military hardware to the fighters. They got a lot of money. They got a lot of what? Money. I usually emphasize to you our Kasuma Farouk of Uganda quote, where we say, believe that you can even in times of crisis. Believe that you do what? You can. Even in times of crisis. So we are looking at the effects of World War II. It led to the economic boom, where USA economically gained from the war because it was selling military equipments. Military what? Equipments. Where we believe by this time, military equipment had to be sold to the fighters, and this raised the country called the USA. Another one, it led to the decolonization of Asia and Africa. We believe at one time Asian countries and African countries that were colonized after World War II, they got their independence. For example, India got in 1947. Later, countries like Uganda got in 1962. So we believe by this time, World War II helped countries to get their independence because the new players in the room, USA and USSR, the new superpowers, were against colonialism, and they gave support to countries. Finally, the countries had to get their independence. So by this time, we are saying World War II led to the decolonization of Asia and Africa. I can tell you the Africans who fought and liberated Africa were so much driven by the great role of World War II. Then it gave birth to the spirit of cooperation. We believe by this time it gave birth to the spirit of cooperation, where countries had to cooperate with one another. Why? Because countries needed one another to fight the enemies. To fight the what? The enemies. Then it led to the advancement in technology. In a bid to win one another, there was advancement in technology. Advancement in what? Technology. Where so many military equipments were produced, and there was advancement in what? Technology. In a bid to win over the other, they produced so many military equipments, hence advancement in technology. Germany and her allies were defeated one by the Allied powers. We believe at this time that Germany and her allies were what? Were defeated in a bid to fight for strength. The Allied powers defeated the Axis what? Powers. The Axis powers. Then it led to the shortage of food and economic crisis. We are realizing shortage of food and economic crisis. Why? Because at this time we realize shortage of food. People were not ready to carry out farming in times of the war. People are not ready to carry out trade. in times of the war. So it led to shortage of food and economic what? Economic crisis. Then it led to heavy death rates. It is said over 50 million people died. As a result of World War II, over 50 million people did what? I can tell you over 50 million people died as a result of World War II. As members of Allied powers were rising up against Axis powers, many people did what? Died. They all led to the massive destruction of property. In a bid to promote one against the other, many properties were what? Were destroyed. In a bid to promote one against the other, we are realizing that the properties were what? Were destroyed. The changes rising up. Where I can say properties were destroyed, buildings, factories, as a result of World War II. Then it led to social problems in Europe. For example, there was population reorganization as the problem of refugees became a world problem. So we are realizing that it led to social problems like refugees. Refugees emerged. Those people wanted to solve the problems of keeping their lives. They had to make sure that they ran from one country to another. And by this time, a problem of refugees was created. They lived in camps. It led to change in the balance of power. Change in the balance of what? Power. Where major powers, Britain and France, declined, and there was the rise of USA and Russia. USA and what? Emerged as major powers. Then it led to the promotion of communism. After Russia becoming a superpower or USSR, it started promoting communism. It started promoting what? Communism. Changes rising up. Then rivalry between USSR and USA. Rivalry between USSR and what? USA. Because they were fighting for supremacy. They were fighting for what? Supremacy. Then a creation of Israel, the Jewish state called Israel, was created in 1948. In 1940 what? 48. So we need to understand